As I watched, I became convinced that I was truly mad. The terror, the destruction, the evil I witnessed. How else could I explain them? Were these the demons from my dream, or were they born within the Wanderer? Why did I follow him? I don't know. Why do things happen as they do in dreams? All I know is that when he beckoned, I had to follow him.
Hello, my brothers and sisters in gaming. Welcome back to the channel. As always, I am Jonathan. I'm your host here at QuickBird Gaming, and I appreciate you tuning in for another video. So for today's episode of How Does It Play Today, I'm going back to an old classic, which I'm sure many people recognize right away, and that is Diablo 2. Now, Diablo 2, unlike some other games in the How Does It Play series, I have played this. I played it back when it released, and for probably a good solid year after, both my son and I were big fans of it. I did beat it back in the day, and I had a lot of fond nostalgic memories, so I was really kind of curious how this was going to hold up. Diablo, with its the isometric action RPG, it's kind of defined that genre, and there have been a lot of other games that have come out that have built upon it, things like Grim Dawn and Path of Exile, even Torchlight 2, and I wondered with some of those advancements how Diablo 2 would stand the test of time. You notice I'm playing the original version of it, not the remastered one, and I'll get into why in just a minute. Because part of it is because I don't really like Blizzard, and I question their integrity of some of their decisions. I think they're kind of a shady company, but that's neither here nor there for the purposes of this video. Anyway, I wanted to see how this was going to hold up, and I really didn't know. So, as we get into this, I would just say, as always, if you're enjoying this content, please consider subscribing to the channel, leaving a like on the video. If you have specific games you would like to see in the How Does It Play series, feel free to leave a comment down below. We're looking at games because it's 2025 as of the making of this. We're looking at games from the year 2000. So if you have something you would like to see, let me know and I'll see if I can squeeze it in. I got a few more games on my list, but I probably have time for some requests as well. Okay, so having said all that, now that we're looking at Diablo in 2025, how does it play today? Before we get to the game itself, if you decide you would like to play Diablo 2, the only legit way to get it is to go through Battle.net, Blizzard's game service. Blizzard does not put their games on Steam or the Epic Game Store or any other launcher. This is pretty much the only way to get it. So if you want to get Diablo 2 and get it installed, you'll need to sign up at Battle.net and make an account. Once you do, Battle.net will come in here and drop you on the front page. You'll want to go up to the Shop tab and click over, and then they'll have their games with their drop downs. You want to pick the Diablo drop down and go down here to Diablo 2 Resurrected. Now when you do, you'll see Diablo 2 Resurrected, and just as of note here, As I pointed out in the first segment, I am playing the original version. The Diablo 2 Resurrected, which is their remastered version, is usually on sale for $40. And that's part of the reason that I wanted to play the original. One, I wanted to get a feel for the original because that's what I'm trying to recreate the games as I played them back then. But also because at $40, I was not going to give Blizzard, a company I generally don't like, $40 for a 25-year-old game. Now, right now, the second, as of making this video, they have it on sale for $13.19, a 2/3 discount. If you wanted it as of the making of this video, it might be a good time to go pick it up. And I think they do kind of rotate this game on sale. They run this sale at intervals, so I would always just wait. Anyway, scroll past that and come down here and you'll see Diablo 2 is available for $9.99, for $10. So you go ahead and buy that, and once you do, you see I click on it and it says, okay, it's already in my library. Okay, good. So now you go up here to your games tab and there's nothing there. There's no option to install it through Battle.net, and that's a problem. In order to actually get this installed, you will have to go to this page on Battle.net's site, which I will link down below, and follow the links to install it. Once you bought the game, you should have received an email with the product key in it that you'll have to enter during installation, but you'll have to download the actual game and the patch from this website, which is pretty annoying that you can't download it through the Battle.net app like you can their other games. All this tells me is that Blizzard really doesn't want to support this game, which is backed up by these words right here on this page, and I quote, "Be advised that these installers and patches are provided as is, and customer service cannot assist with any issues you may encounter. Community resources may exist if you encounter problems and want to try troubleshooting." So in other words, if you buy Diablo 2, the original version, and it doesn't work, you're fucked. It's just not going to work, and they're not going to help you. They have your $10, that's all they care about. I know they're trying to steer people to the newer version, but to me, the idea that they're selling something for $10, which I know is not a lot of money in the greater scheme of things, but they're selling it and they're not going to support it, is a foul, and it's just another one of these reasons why I don't really like Blizzard. But anyway, this is how you go about it. If you decide to get the original version, you'll have to come to this page and get that information. Use the CD key that they email you after your purchase. Anyway, on to gameplay. When you start the game, the first thing you're going to do is pick your character. There are 5 character classes. The first is the Amazon, who's kind of a bow and distance archer attacker. The Necromancer, who will raise bodies to fight for him. The Barbarian, who's kind of your close-in melee attacker. The Sorceress, who is your elemental wizard. And then your Paladin, who is your holy man, kind of clerical warrior spellcaster. I chose the Sorceress for my character for this run because I think the last time I played this, I went with the Barbarian. I was going through a phase where I did a lot of melee attacking. So I went with the Sorceress and to see how that would play out, just for something different. Now, the interface is fairly standard. You have your menus, you have your character selection screen, which lists all your stats, including any bonuses. That's all pretty straightforward. You'll get points to allocate there as you level. You have your inventory, again, pretty straightforward. You can hover over your equipment to see the bonuses and see the stats, see the damage, anything that needs to be repaired, and anything in your inventory, you can do the same. You have your skill tree. In this case, the wizard, the sorceress has fire, lightning, and cold spells. You have different spells of different levels. You can hover over each to see what they do. It also shows the required level to cast. And each spell, you can also put more points into the levels. For my Frozen Armor, you see it's currently level 2, and at next level, the bonuses and the effects will be slightly higher. You have your auto map, which you can also access with your middle mouse button. Click it on and off. I used it a lot while I was playing. You have your message log, which only applies in multiplayer games. You have your quest log that shows you your current objective. And then you have your system options. Your exit game and you're setting your keys and whatnot. The controls are pretty simple. You use your left mouse button to move wherever your cursor is. That's also how you attack. You can hold shift in play to stand in place and swing, or to fire if you don't want to move. Your right mouse button is assigned to your secondary skill. As you can see right here, I'm going to use a hotkey to switch it to my Frost Armor to renew that spell, and then over to my Fireball. You can assign F1 through F6 for those skills, and numbers 1 through 4 for your quick use items, potions, scrolls, and that kind of thing. I'll be 100% honest. I did not think I was going to come back to this game and enjoy it. I figured I needed to do it for the channel because this was an important game that released in 2000 and I needed to cover it, but I was not expecting to come back and have fun. There were a few reasons. I figured that Blizzard and being associated with Blizzard was going to taint my enjoyment a little bit, but I think the bigger factors were that there's a nostalgia issue here. I enjoyed this game before, and I think we have a tendency to remember things that we enjoyed when we were younger as being better than they were, just in general. And I thought that might play a part in my lack of enjoyment. Another one being that the point and click action RPG genre has evolved a bit from this point. Like I said, games that I mentioned before are doing it probably better now with the benefit of hindsight. So I wasn't quite sure what to think. I wasn't sure. I really thought this was going to be, I was going to have to kind of grind my way through this. Well, I think the joke was on me because I really found myself enjoying my time back in Diablo 2. I think this is a game where the simplicity of the game works in its favor. You don't have huge skill bars to manage. You don't have a lot of quests to balance or NPCs. Really even to remember where things are because things are marked pretty well on the map. And it is incredibly easy to get into a long, sustained fight where you just are cutting through the mobs left and right and leaving a path of destruction and a trail of bodies in your wake. And that is a lot of fun. I mean, sure, there's a lot of fun in taking down a big boss mob in a game where it's, really strategies involved and there's lots of tactics that you have to use and all of your skills. But there's also just as much fun sometimes as getting into a huge pile of mobs and just wiping them out. And that's something you can do in Diablo over and over again, and we'll probably have to actually to make the game work. You're going to have to do that, and it was a lot of fun. Because I was a little pressed this month, I only got a chance to play through the first half of the first act, but that told me what I needed to know, and that is that Diablo 2 is going to stay on my desktop for a bit, and something I can keep coming back and visiting. This is the type of game that you can log into for 15 or 20 minutes, go out and bash a bunch of mobs, pick up the loot. And that's where the appeal in the game is. You just, like I've shown in a couple instances in this video, these mass fights and just being able to go out and kill stuff. Loot variety comes in a couple of different types, some of the equipment, and I had a little freeze in the video there. I don't know what happened. A couple of types. There's just regular. There are items that are, the titles are in blue that are magical, and then there are titles that are yellow, which are unique items. Uniques very, very rarely drop from regular mobs. There are champion mobs who are kind of just hopped up versions of the regular ones out here. They have a greater chance of dropping better loot, and of course, bosses have an even greater chance of dropping the higher grade loot. There are also a number of dungeons in the game. Some are mandatory to advance the quest, others are purely optional, places that you can just go and explore and get more loot and fight more mobs, kind of like this one here. You'll see just here in a second I mentioned champion mobs a moment ago, and here's one on the left. You can see hitting how much more damage he's taking. Dungeons tend to be dark. They also tend to be claustrophobic, so you kind of have to be on your toes when you're down in these places. The ones that are required for you to advance, the ones that are required for you to move through the quest line, the game is pretty good about directing you there, so don't worry about that. Each quest typically ends with some kind of boss fight. Here I'm fighting Blood Raven, a demonically corrupted member of the order of people who are helping you, kind of who run the base camp, your base camp of operations. She's an annoying boss to fight just because she flits around so erratically. I would wait till you had some kind of reliable AoE attack to take her on. But like I said, there's pretty much a boss at the end of each one of these. They're often annoying to fight for a variety of reasons, just because in this era, remember, when a game wanted quote-unquote harder, typically that meant they just turned the monster into a damage sponge, and that's what happened here. All of the monsters are pretty typically, all the boss monsters, are pretty typically just soak up a lot of damage, and it just becomes an endurance test. So always make sure you stock up on potions, etc. And I won't lie, this broad was actually really satisfying to put down.
Now, Blood Raven.
I think I said typically about 5 times in that last segment. Sorry about that. Anyway, you can see the quest system now tells me to return for a reward. Now that Miss Raven is dead, you'll also note that she did drop a yellow large axe. Useless to my character, but it is a unique item, which, like I said, is pretty typical. I did it again. Of the boss mobs, that they will usually drop the better quality loot. Pretty standard RPG/action RPG fare, but as I alluded to earlier, I think the simplicity of this game really works in its favor. It's straightforward, direct, there's no pretense. It is simply you go out there and you mash mobs, look for loot. It tells a little bit of a story along the way, and that's it. A big part of the Diablo experience, whether it's Diablo 1 or 2, has always been multiplayer, so you can run around with your friends bashing mobs together. Because Diablo 2 Classic is not integrated into the current Battle.net client, I do not know how well multiplayer functions. From things I read, apparently people can do a LAN or TCP/IP type of direct connect. I can't vouch for that, though. There does appear to be a legacy Battle.net connection for the classic games. Again, I don't know how well that works, so I can't vouch for it. I would recommend that if your goal to play this is to play it via multiplayer, I would recommend getting Diablo 2 Resurrected, the remastered version, because it does appear to be integrated into the main Battle.net client. So what is the final verdict? I think my biggest gripes with this game right now have nothing to do with the game itself, but more to do with the behind the scenes, the fact that Blizzard is not supporting the game by their own admission, and that they're still charging $10 for it, and they make it difficult to install this version, and the fact that multiplayer appears very questionable for the original version here. Putting that aside, I really enjoyed revisiting Diablo 2. I was surprised. I was actually a little even shocked, because I didn't think I would. I thought my misgivings were, my feelings going in was that I wasn't going to enjoy this, and I would quickly put it down and say it wasn't worth playing, because I didn't think it would be. And that turned out not to be the case. As I alluded to, I think it's going to stay on my system for a little while. It's something you can just log in for a few minutes when you want to kill some time and kill some monsters. So when I ask the question, how does it play today? I have to say it still plays pretty well. That is going to do it for this episode of How Does It Play Today? As always, like I said earlier, if you enjoy this content, please consider subscribing to the channel. Drop a like on the video or leave a comment if you agree with me or disagree with me about Diablo 2, the original version, and how it plays. If you have a game you'd like to see featured in this series, as I mentioned, let me know. We're doing games right now from the year 2000. I have some lined up, but if you have one you'd really like to see, let me see if I can squeeze it in. With that, I'm going to log out here, get back to making some more videos, doing some other stuff. Thank you all for tuning in. You all go out there and live your best lives, and you all stay gaming.